Hello all of you, myself Shayok Mitra, and today I am going to discuss the topic basics of demand and elasticity of demand. To understand the concept of demand, first of all we are required to know what is need in economics. Need refers to a compulsory possession of something without which an individual cannot survive, like food, clothes and shelter. So need is something which is must required by a person, by a particular individual to survive in economy, to survive in the world. Okay, so need is something which is compulsorily which is required compulsorily. One should possess the particular commodity, and that certain need is refers that certain need is refers to want if it is affordable or not affordable. That particular aspect we should consider. So we can say want is an advanced form of need. It is also a need, but it is an advanced form of need of an individual which may not be affordable or may be affordable. If, for example, if a person want to buy a BMW car, it may be affordable by him if he earns that amount of money to buy a particular BMW car. If his standard of living is that high, it is practicable. It is naturally he can buy the particular BMW car. However, the person want to buy the sun, buy the moon, buy a particular planet of our universe like Saturn or anything else. Is it practicable? No, it is not practicable. It is an absurd want. Therefore, the want which is absurd in nature should be discarded in our economic theory, because it is not economically acceptable, not economically possible to afford, possible to buy the particular commodity. But the portion of the want which is economically practicable to buy, to afford, that is known as demand. So the definition of demand is like this. It refers to the want of an individual which must be economically affordable by the consumer, and along with the affordability we have to consider two another dimensions, that is a particular time flow, and the commodity of the product is fixed, and price, constant price, and the specific time period. These two are another two main important as dimensions of demand. Okay, so demand refers to the economically affordable portion of want, which is which can be a person can bought the particular commodity within a specific time period and at a particular point at a particular price. Okay, therefore we can conclude that all demand is want, but all want is not demand. Yes, if a particular incident is called as demand, is recognized as a demand, it must be a want, and to be more specific, it is economically viable, economically affordable want. However, all want is not demand, because to be demand, a particular want must be economically affordable. But is all our demand want is all our want are economically viable, economically possible, economically affordable by us? No. If it is economically affordable, then it is demand, and if it is not economically affordable, then it is called want but not demand. And in our economic theory, the economically affordable portion of want is only considered, and the rest one is obviously discarded. That is the absurd portion which is not economically affordable by a particular individual or by anyone. It is called not demand. So in a simple line, in a one line definition, we can define demand as it is the purchasing desire supported by consumers' buying capacity. That means if I have a desire to buy an Apple iPhone, but it is not affordable by economic condition, then it is not obvious, then it is practicable, however it is not demand, because it is not economically acceptable, economically affordable, no, sorry, not acceptable, it is economically affordable by me. Okay, so the purchasing desire, the want, which is economically backed or economically supported by the consumer's purchasing power, is known as demand. Okay, so I think the concept of demand is clear. So going to the next slide, a practical approach. So we are going to understand the concept of demand discussing a practical life case study. So I have taken a case study. A consumer bought 3 shirts and 2 trousers during Durga Puja, which is offered by Pantaloons at 20% discount. Now, is it a demand or not demand? To know this, we are required to explore the 3 dimensions of the event. Okay, so we are required to explore the 3 dimensions of the particular event. So according to the definition of demand, the first dimension is time frame. So this is there must be a time frame, because it happened during the Durga Puja. Before the Durga Puja, the sale is given, the particular discount is offered by Pantaloons. So during the certain time period before 1 month of Durga Puja till Durga Puja, this offer is valid. So the time period is fixed. The first dimension is satisfied. Second one, price. That means at a certain price. That means the discount is available up to the Durga Puja. A particular discount is available up to Durga Puja. So the price of the commodity is less, the price of the commodity or the price of the shirts and the trousers is uniform throughout up to the date of up to the starting of Durga Puja. Okay, so price is also fixed. And the third dimension and the most important dimension, that is affordability. Is it affordable by the consumer? It seems affordable to the consumer, as it is not economically absurd. It is not an economically absurd idea to buy 3 shirts and 2 trousers. Therefore, the 3 aspects of demand is completely explored, and we can conclude that the particular event has fulfilled all the 3 aspects of demands. Therefore, this can be called as a practical case of demand. And in our microeconomic theory, demand is a feasible concept which makes some sense in study of consumer behavior. And to study the detailed study of consumer behavior, we first of all we should study the trend of demand during a particular point of time at a particular price. Okay, so demand is that feasible portion of want which is a matter of study in our microeconomic theory. So I think the concept of demand is clear. So I am going to the next slide to know the other thing, that is the demand determinants and demand function. Okay, so demand determinants and function. So first of all, what we should understand, what is determinants? Determinants refers to demand is a thing which depends on several factors. Okay, that is known as demand determinants. And in our statistics, we call it very popularly known as independent variables. That means the variable which is changing from time to time, and no one is no one is affecting, no one is manipulating the particular variable. Okay, therefore that known as the determinants of the demand. And here the only dependent variable, what is the dependent variable? nothing but the quantity demanded. So here we understand how much quantity is demanded at a particular point of time with respect to several independent variables, that is determinants of demand. And what are the determinants of the demand? First of all, price of the commodity. We are going to learn, we are going to study a particular commodity, say a toothpaste. Okay. So the price of the toothpaste is a first factor which is affecting the quantity demanded, the demand of the toothpaste. Another one, price of related commodity. So I can give another example. If we want to buy coffee, okay, if we want to buy coffee and say for now the price of the tea is increased. However, the price of the coffee is not increased, and it is known as, we already use tea or coffee as a hot beverage. And now if the price of tea is increased where the price of coffee is not increased, but we will increase the consumption of coffee. Okay, and that means the quantity demanded of coffee is affected the price of, not the price of coffee. It is affected, or it is manipulated, or it is changes due to the change in the price of tea. That is called price of related commodity, another independent variable. Third independent variable is money income of consumers. The consumer's money income is a very important factor of demand. If the money income is more of a particular consumer, his demand for a particular commodity is obviously more as compared to a low income earner. It is very obvious. Fourth one, that is consumer's taste preference. Demand is directly related to the consumer's taste and preference. If a consumer want to wear ethnic apparels, ethnic dresses, then ethnic outfits, then the demand for the ethnic products like kurta, Punjabis and anything else is more to that particular individual. And another person whose taste and preference, who wants to wear the western outfits, the western dresses, and the particular demand of the western product to that particular individual is more as compared to ethnic products. So it changes, and the quantity demanded is affected by the taste preference of consumers, individual taste preference rather. Next one is number of consumers. Number of consumers is another determinants of demand. If a product is demanded by so many people, if a product is demanded by so many people, then quantity demanded is more high. So that means if the number of consumers are very large, then demand are so high. So demand is also affected by the total number of consumer, how much consumer is demanding that commodity. If a commodity is demanded by a very small number of consumers or very few consumers, then the demand of the commodity is not that much high. If a particular commodity is demanded by a large number of consumers, then it is very high. Okay, so it is also a determinants of demand. Sorry. Future expectation of consumer, it is also a factor. If a consumer think in future the price of the goods will increase or decrease, it will certainly affect the present demand, quantity demanded of the goods. If a person thinks in future the price of a particular good will increase, so I will buy the product right now to avoid further price hike. Okay, and he bought a particular commodity and he bought or he consumes a particular commodity at a large scale as compared to previous period, because he thinks it is sorry, the price of the product will increase in future. Okay, so this is all the dependent and independent variable analysis of demand. And after analyzing the demand determinants, we should know what is demand function. So demand function is nothing but a functional relationship, between demand of the commodity. That means in simple word, it is a functional relationship between the dependent variable, that is quantity demanded, and the different independent variables, that is known as the determinants of demand. Say price of the commodity, price of the related commodity, money, income, which I have discussed previously. So if we express this in a functional form, then we should write this. Just see here, QD, that means quantity demanded. That dependent variable should be on the left side of the equation, and on the right side all the determinant variables or the independent variables is there. So F within bracket P refers to price of the commodity, PR refers to price of the related commodity, M refers to the money income, T refers to the taste and preference, N refers to the number of consumer, E refers to the future expectation. So this is in a nutshell, demand function is nothing but a relationship between the quantity demanded, and the quantity demanded is affected by other variables, that is known as independent variable or demand determinants, and we measure this using the equation QD equal to F, P, PR, M, T, N and E. Sorry. In a true sense, we should consider, we actually use the demand function and we consider only price as the most significant and most manipulating variable to a particular quantity demanded of a product. Okay, so QD is a function of P, and while we are going to know the particular quantity demanded of a product with respect to change in price, that means price is the only changing variable, the only independent variable which affecting the quantity demanded, then we should consider another aspect, that is all other determinants, that is price of related goods, money income of consumer, consumer's taste preference, number of consumer and consumer's expectation. All these are constant. Without this assumption, without this precision, we cannot establish the functional relationship between quantity demanded and price. And instead of quantity, instead of price, if we want to express the demand function using the money income of consumer, then here at QD equal to F within bracket there will be M instead of P, and in that case we should consider the price of the product, price of the related product and other variable except the money income, which is the only independent variable, the manipulating variable in our analysis is there, are fixed. So if we write only QD equal to FP, and we are not going to write the provided that PR, M, T are constant, that means other variables are constant, then it is completely wrong, because when we are going to establish a functional relationship between the quantity demanded and any one determinant, say price, then we assume that other variables are constant, and with that assumption it is only possible to measure or possible to form a functional relationship between the quantity demanded and price of the commodity. I hope it is clear. Now the law of demand, and when we are going to discuss the law of demand, first of all we should know there is an inverse relationship between price and demand. That means in a very practical approach, if we considered any practical life example, if the example, that means the price and the quantity demanded goes to a different directions, towards two different directions. If the price of the commodity increases, then the quantity demanded will decrease. And inversely, if the price of the commodity is decreasing, then quantity demanded will increase. Okay. For example, if the price of a commodity is 5 rupees and total quantity demanded is 200, now the price is dropped from 5 to 3 and the quantity demanded increase, obviously it will increase from 200 to 300. Okay, so we can clearly observe that the price is going downward and that will lead to increase in quantity demanded. That is known as the law of demand. However, it is provided that except price, all the factors are constant. When we are going to discuss the law of demand, we should consider that all the other factors except price are constant. Okay, then only the law prevails. Then only the law is economically acceptable. That is, if the commodity price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. And if the commodity price, it should be decreases. If the commodity price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. The quantity demanded increases. Sorry, it is wrongly written. Now I have rectified. So we can obviously observe an inverse relationship between the price and demand, and this is known as the law of demand. That is, if the price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and if the price decreases, then quantity demanded increases. This is the law of demand, nothing more. Now we are going to understand the shape and slope of the demand curve. Okay, so first of all, what is demand curve? Demand curve refers to the locus of the various points which exhibit different combinations of quantity demanded and price of a commodity. That means demand curve is a hypothetical curve which shows the locus, that means the various combinations of points of price and demand. And we will understand this concept using the demand schedule. Just look the demand schedule. That means a list of different price and corresponding demand at that particular given price is here. Okay, so if the price is rupees 20, then demand is 100 kg. Now if price is 22, then demand is 95 kg. So demand is nothing but the different combinations of the price and commodity demanded, price and the quantity demand. So the first combination is price is 20 and demand is 100. Second combination, price 22, demand 95. Third combination, price 25, demand 88. And this is known as the several combinations. And when we put these several combinations of the price and quantity demanded in a singular curve, and we put this combination and join these points of the particular combinations using a hypothetical line, then it is known as demand curve. So demand curve is a hypothetical curve which shows the different combinations of price and quantity demanded. I think it is clear. And I am going to know the shape of the demand curve. And if we look this demand curve, so we can clearly observe that it is a straight line or it may be a curvilinear line from left to right. And what is straight line and what is curvilinear line? Straight line refers to just a straight line, and here the demand curve which is given, it is a curved, a slightly curved line, that is a curvilinear line, non-linear which is. And when the demand curve is linear and when the demand curve is non-linear, that means the change in price, that means the price and the quantity demanded, though the price and the quantity demanded are given and they are changing at a certain, in a certain proportion. For example, the price is 20 and demand is 20. Now the price is enhanced by exactly 10% and the demand is falling exactly by 10%, then 10% and so on. If the process continues till the end of the demand schedule, then we can conclude that the demand curve obviously will be a straight line curve, because it is equiproportional, it is exactly equal, it is changing at an equal proportion. But in our practical life, that is always not possible to get a straight line demand curve. So instead of straight line demand curve, we basically find a curvilinear or a slightly curved line like the picture given here, and it is obviously a left to rightward, it takes a left to rightward shape. Okay, because it is always not equiproportional. The price, sometimes the price is increasing or price is decreasing at a higher proportion than the quantity demanded, increases or decreases. For example, if the price increased by 5% but the quantity demanded decreased by 10%, is it equiproportional? Both are changed at an equal proportion? No, it is not changed at an equal proportion. Therefore, then if the particular thing will happen up and the particular thing will happen up to the end of the demand schedule, then the curve will not be a straight line demand curve, it will be a curvilinear or a slightly curved demand curve from left to right. So this is all about the shape of the demand curve. I hope it is clear. And while we are going to know the slope of the demand curve, and in a one sentence we can say the demand curve is, the slope of the demand curve is negative. Now the thing is, why it is negative? Here just we are analyzing this image, this picture, demand curve. Just see, this vertical axis shows the price, that means we are measuring price in the vertical axis, and in the horizontal axis we are measuring demand. And here price is the independent variable we know, and demand is the dependent variable, it is also known to us, I have discussed previously. And now we are putting the respective price here. The first price is given as 20, that means the price is the lowest. For example, the price is given here, and at that particular price the quantity demanded is the highest quantity demanded, that is 100 rupees, that is 100 in kgs. So at 20 rupees price the quantity demanded, at 20 rupees price the quantity demanded is the highest, that is up to this mark, that is 100 units. Now the price increased from 20 to 22, so the price level will go upward from 20 to 22, and similarly the demand curve is negative. The demand will decrease from 100 to 95. Okay, and if the process is, and we can see from the schedule, the process is going like this, the price is constantly increasing and the quantity demanded is obviously constantly decreasing, and it follows the law of demand. So there is an inverse relationship between price and demand. Price is constantly getting upward and quantity demanded is constantly getting downward. And when we put these two combinations in a hypothecated curve, as we have discussed while I have discussed the concept of demand curve, then the curve will be must be a negatively sloped curve. Must be a negatively sloped curve. Because the main reason behind the negatively sloped curve is the price and quantity is going to different dimensions, to different directions. Price is increasing, then demand is decreasing. Okay, and if the price and if both are going at a same orientation, like if the price increases and as well as demand increases, then the curve will be a curvilinear or straight line upward sloping curve, just the opposite of this. Okay, so the main reason behind the negative slope, there are different reasons behind the the negative slope of the curve. That is, the first of all we can say that is the law of diminishing marginal utility. And to be very specific, I'm just discussing it very briefly. That means this, according to this law, it is known that if a consumer consumes a particular commodity, if a consumer consumes a particular commodity and in a more quantum, that means first of all he has consumed 2 units of the commodity, second of all he consumed 3 units, and he is going and so on, and he is going in the same way, then total utility he got from a particular consumption and consumption is getting decreased on one successive increase in total consumption. This is known as the law of diminishing marginal utility, because the amount of satisfaction a consumer get from a first unit or first time of consumption is obviously decreased by the second time of consumption. That equal level of satisfaction he will not get from the second type of consumption, not get from the second time consumption of that same commodity, and so on. This is one important reason behind law of behind the negative slope of demand curve. And there are so many other reasons. I am not going to discuss all the reasons. And the main theme is the price and the demand will go to the 2 different dimensions, and that's why it is a negatively sloped curve. I think it is clear. Now the exceptions to the law of demand. So that means what are the exceptions? That means exceptions means according to the law of demand, we know that there is an inverse relationship. If the price increases, quantity demanded decreases. If the price decreases, quantity demanded increases. It is called inverse. That means different. That means the price and quantity demanded is going to different dimensions. Okay. And while we are going to express the exception to the law of demand, then it is just showing the opposite. That means a positive relationship between price and demand. That means if the price increases, then quantity demanded also increases. That is why it is known as exception to the law of demand, because according to law of demand, inverse relationship was there. And there are different or 5 instances where we can discuss the exceptions. First of all, conspicuous goods. So what is conspicuous goods? The costly products symbolize higher socio-economic status. That means precious jewelry, stones, and costly apparels. All the commodities are basically consumed by a consumer to show his social and economic status. So as the price of the commodities are increased, the quantity demanded of the commodity is also increased. Here it is not applicable. The normal law of demand is not applicable. Second one is given commodity or given good. So what is given commodity? It is basically an inferior commodity. It is basically an inferior commodity. It is basically an inferior commodity. It is basically an inferior commodity gaining the economic significance for a certain period of time due to some economic instability like price hike, etc. For example, just see the example. Demand of potato is high while price of meat is too high to consume for general public. Here the potato is a comparatively inferior commodity as compared to meat. But in a when the price of the meat is constantly rising, then the consumer, then the general public will shift their demand of meat towards potato. And being, although the potato is an inferior commodity, but the quantity demanded will increase, and more and we can observe another aspect, that is the price of the potato is not that much higher than meat, but it is a inferior commodity. The price of the potato is obviously lesser than meat. So here the potato is a special type of inferior commodity which is gaining economic importance due to price of another commodity, that is meat, is high, and here they can be known as a quasi substitute commodity, and potato is a quasi substitute commodity of meat. Third one, high price means better quality. The consumer has a notion that sometimes we perceive, the consumer thinks like this, the quality of product by its price. That means branded tea versus loose tea. We think branded tea is better in quality as compared to loose tea, but we are not going to analyze, or not going to rationally think the loose tea. Sometimes the loose teas are also better than the branded tea. We are actually purchasing the tea knowing the brand. We are actually recognizing the brand. It is Brook Bond Taza tea, so it is better than the local tea vendors or local tea shop owners loose tea. We have a precision, we have perceived that it is a branded product, that means it is a good quality product, and with this precision we think the product is quite good in quality, and the demand of the good is increased, but the price is higher as compared to loose tea. Okay, so the price of the branded tea, suppose the price of the branded tea is high than the loose tea because there is a brand name behind the particular product. But loose tea, if we measure this quality, if we understand that, if we analyze the quality of loose tea, then we will sometimes the loose tea is better in quality than the branded tea. Okay, but we the consumer perceives that branded means good quality, so they buy higher price product as compared to lower price, and the demand is also increasing. So here it is a violation of the law of demand, that is price is increasing and demand is also increasing. Okay, then future price expectation. Sometimes in socio, natural and economic turmoil like water, flood and political emergency, consumers enhance consumption at a high price to avoid further price hike. For example, before that COVID-19 lockdown, the first time lockdown in 2020 March, the consumer buy necessary commodities at high price at relatively higher quantum than usual. Okay, so the future expectation about the price of the product is also a factor which does not follow the law of demand. Sorry. Okay. Here the future price is maybe it will get down due to normality in economic situation after COVID-19 lockdown, but we are thinking, and we are thinking that the price will increase because of the economic turmoil. Then we will increase our consumption of product right now to avoid further price hike in future. That is called future price expectation. And the last one is share market. What is share market? In share market it is known to all of us, that is high price of share denotes better quality or better performing share in the market, and the demand of that commodity, that particular share or that particular security is higher in the market. So it obviously violates the law of demand. And if we diagrammatically represent the violation, the exception to the law of demand, then here it is, here we can see this in the picture. In the vertical axis, we are actually analyzing the price of the commodity, and in the horizontal axis, we are actually measuring the demand. And if the price increases, the quantity demand is also increasing at the same point of time. So it is a straight line upward sloping curve, just the opposite of demand curve. See, it is a left to right word negatively sloped downward sloping curve, and it is a opposite, that is upward sloping from left to right curve, just the opposite of the demand curves. And obviously it is opposite because it is an exception to the law of demand, which is not following the law of demand. And the last slide that I am going to discuss very briefly, the concept of demand elasticity. Here it is very important to understand the concept of elasticity to analyze, to study our concept of demand. Now, what is elasticity? Elasticity refers to the degree of change in total quantity demanded with respect to change in any determinant, say price. So I have previously discussed there are different determinants: price, price of related commodity, consumers money income, consumers taste preference, number of consumers, future expectations, and so on. And if the total quantity demanded is increased or decreased due to change in any particular determinant, say price, if the price is increased by 10%, and for that purpose the quantity demanded is decreased by 5%, that ratio of change is known as the demand elasticity. So it is measuring the change of quantity demanded with respect to change in any independent variable like price, money income, taste preference, price of related commodity, and so on. And while we are going to analyze the elasticity of any one variable, say we are going to analyze the price elasticity, that means how much quantity demanded will change due to change in price, that is known as price elasticity. Then we should consider other determinants, that are the price of related commodity, money income, consumer taste preference, all are fixed. Okay. And if we derive this in a formula, then the formula will be like this. Here E refers to the elasticity, and the formula is percentage change in quantity demanded Q and divided by percentage change in any demand determinants like price, money income, and so on. And here in the next step we have said that delta Q divided by Q1. Here delta Q means change in quantity demanded. For example, the current quantity demanded is 200 and previously the demand was 100. So how much quantum it has increased? So I am going to discuss this from this schedule. Previously the quantity demanded was 100. Now the demanded decreased from 100 to 95. So how much change is there? 5 units of demand is decreased, and here 2 unit price is increased. And we should understand how much percentage of demand and price is changed. Okay. So here the delta Q is known as the change in quantity. So here 100 is the first level of consumption, we should consider it Q1, and second level is 95, that is Q2, we should name it Q2. And the difference between Q1 and Q2 is known as delta Q, that is change in quantity demand. And what is the Q1? It is the initial quantity demand, that is 100. Okay. So 100 is the initial quantity demand and increase and the change demand is 95. So how much it is changed? 5 units, and initial was 100. So 100, so 5 divided by 100 into 100, that is how much percentage it is changed? 5%. Okay, and DD and delta DD and DD1 refers to the initial quantum of determinants. That means for say price, any determinants, here determinants refers to any determinants, price, money, income and whatever. So here I am taking the price as a only determinant, other are constant. So the how much the price has been increased? So here delta DD refers to the change in price, like change in quantity demanded. So first level of price was 20, second level the price is increased to 22. Okay, so how much it is changed? By 2 units, that is 2 rupees. So the change of DD, that is delta DD, that is change in price, will be 2 units. And DD1, that means the initial level of price was 20. So how much it is changed? 2 by 20, that is 10%. Okay, and if we use in a if we express in a percentage terms, and here it is measured, that is the 5% quantity demanded is decreased by 5% due to 10% increase in demand. This is something expressed by the concept of elasticity. Due to 10% change in price of the commodity, the quantity demanded of the product is changed by 5%, it is decreased by 5%. So this is the concept of demand elasticity. I hope the concept is clear. So thank you for your time.